The son of a club pro, making Quail Hollow the place where dreams come true. We're going to have more on Justin Thomas's PGA Championship victory and find out who's now the frontrunner for PGA Tour Player of the Year. And we're getting you ready for the Solheim Cup. Which American could have a huge impact for Team USA this week? While it's the last chance for guys to crack the top 125 in the FedEx Cup standings, the Wyndham Championship, the final regular season dance for guys in the PGA Tour. Who's outside of the bubble at the moment, but will need a big week in Greensboro. That's all coming at you ahead on Golf Central.
Golf Central. Brought to you by Titleist.
Final 12 holes on Sunday, transforming Justin Thomas from a guy who's won on the PGA Tour to a major champion. Justin capturing the PGA Championship at just 24 years old, part of what's been a remarkable breakout season, piling up 4 wins within the last year. He's joining some pretty impressive company. A list of players to win the PGA Championship at 24 years or younger. This, since it went to the stroke play format back in 1958, some of the notable names: Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, and now Justin Thomas joining some pretty heady company. Afterwards, JT sat down with Todd Lewis.
Justin, before we talk about what happened here in Charlotte, I do want to go back to Wisconsin. You shot that 63 on Saturday, and although you said Sunday you didn't have your best as you were in contention, your caddy, Jimmy Johnson, said it stung what happened there. How much motivation or different attitude did you bring to this championship, given you were in contention on Sunday?
You know, it probably wasn't a lot. I mean, in terms of how I felt, it's so much fun being in contention, and I'm learning it's so much more fun to be in contention in a major. And I mean, the crowds in Charlotte are always unbelievable, but for this PGA Championship was incredible. I mean, I've never felt more loved and rooted for than I was today, and I cannot thank the fans and people of Charlotte enough for that. They really helped me get through today. Just the experience of anytime you can get there and anytime you can experience that sort of feeling in your body and your game, it's going to help you, and you know, I feel like it did.
This is a very broad question, but what do you think best prepared you for today and ultimately helped you get the victory?
And just winning in past, honestly, is probably bland as you could get an answer. Winning, it's tough, but earlier this year I've been fortunate enough to do it and do it in different ways, to where I've learned how to win with a lead, I've learned how to win coming back and holding a huge lead, so it's kind of comfortable when I get in those positions. I've just had a hard time getting there as often as I'd like this year, and I felt extremely comfortable going in today. It just was about kind of finishing off.
I want to go back to the WGC Mexico Championship. You were in contention on Sunday, and you didn't have a great Sunday, and you said after your round that maybe your emotions got in the way. What did you do from that point to now to remain, as you said today, calm all day in the heat of a major championship?
You know, it's just, I think it doesn't matter whether you play golf, whether you're a business person, whether you're an analyst, whatever it is, you have days where you're in a good mood, you have days where you're fine, you have when you're irritable, when you're not. And it was obviously an irritable day for me, and I was embarrassed of how, you know, it's one of those things when you're doing it, when you're acting, it doesn't seem as bad, and you don't think it's a big deal. I mean, it's not like I'm going to completely change as a person. I'm still going to be very fiery, but I hate some of the things that people say to me, and I think that they're wrong, but at the end of the day, the fact that they look at me as you know, someone with a big temper or someone who throws clubs or this or that just because of a round, it sucks, to be honest. It's not very fun.
Is it hurtful?
I mean, it's not hurtful, just because if you're going to take everything that you read that people tell you on the internet, then you may as well not even live, because the things that people say to you are absurd. But it's a little bit of a reality check almost. And I had a great chance to win that tournament. And I mean, being in the final group with DJ and Rory, that was a huge, huge deal for me. And that was probably the most nervous I'd been. And, you know, I made a great run there on that back nine. You know, once I collected myself, got back in it. And I don't know, I just was very calm and cool, and I just felt confident this week.
You have a great group of friends. Ricky Fowler actually said today, it's always cool to watch your friends win a major championship, and you could learn a lot from watching your friends win. You have watched Jordan Spieth, your friend for a long, long time, win. Consciously or subconsciously, I know you put in all the work, but did he help inspire you and motivate you to ultimately be a major champion?
I mean, anytime you can watch your buddies win when you don't win, it's motivating, and it just gives you a little bit more of a kick in the butt to get going. But I mean, I actually remember thinking today, you know, after I bogeyed, I think it was 1 or 3, and I was, I don't know, 2 or 3 back or something like that. And I'm like, I mean, Jordan went through this. He was 2 back with 4 to go at the Open Championship, and he had 5 holes to go, and I have 17. What am I stressing about here? I could make this up in 2 holes, so why not be calm over this next 17 and see what happens? I guess you could say I have him a little to thank, but I'd like to think that I could thank myself a little bit more.
Absolutely. Finally, you're a major champion. You're a young major champion at the age of 24. And so now, wherever you go and play, expectations externally from fans and the media, and maybe internally from yourself, are going to be high. How do you manage that?
I don't know. I don't. This is a new feeling for me. I mean, I can't sit here and tell you that I'm going to think this in New York or I'm going to think this come next year, because I don't. I've never been here before. I've never won a major. I don't know how I'm going to react. I don't know what the media obligations are going to be for me going forward. I know it sure beats the alternative of not having the obligations and not being a major champion, but my golf game and results would show I probably didn't handle it very well after Hawaii. I mean, I really struggled after that for a couple months, and so I need to figure out what I did poorly then and kind of assess it and realize why I can, or how to not let that happen again. Hopefully be a lot better going forward.
It is a good problem to have.
It is.
Congratulations on the victory, my man.
Thanks, Todd.
So here's the season JT has put together in a nutshell. 4 wins and a major, highlighted by that 59 he carried at the Sony Open, part of a record-setting week there, plus that Saturday 63 at the U.S. Open at Erin Hills. Thomas now tied for the lead in top 10s this season with 9 on the PGA Tour. He shares that with Ricky Fowler, and oh yeah, he's a major champion. Now he's got a nice new piece of hardware that I think would make a great centerpiece in just about any room, and we're talking about the Wanamaker Trophy. Welcome to Golf Central. I'm George Savaricas with Golf Channel insider Tim Rosafort. We've listed off the accomplishments from Justin Thomas this year. Had to make a lot of big putts for that to happen. There was maybe an under-the-radar one that could have been just as important as any on Sunday, Rosie.
You got that right, George. I mean, to win on tour, you got to make putts. And first of all, you think about the putts that Justin made this year. He makes a putt for 59 down at the Sony.
That second round at Waialae, and who could forget as he joined the 59 club. What a special day it was, and had his pal on hand, Jordan Spieth, to see it.
And then he steps up to the one for Eagle for 63 in the U.S. Open at Erin Hills.
He said if you've got the pink pants, you got to own it. 9 under 63 does it.
And while most people are going to look back upon yesterday, that ball that teetered on the edge of the cup at 10 before falling in, you asked Justin after, what was the biggest putt of the day, the biggest thing you did? And he said that putt for bogey at the first hole. And you think about it, he goes bunker to bunker there. He's in a position where maybe things are going to get a slip away from him. He's in the next to last group. Great chance to win a U.S. Open. I'm sorry, I keep calling the U.S. Open because it played like a U.S. Open.
Yeah.
To win a major championship, and he stepped in there and gutted that putt when he had to.
Those are the big momentum type putts if you're going to win a major. And for Justin Thomas to close out the PGA Championship. Beginning of the year, he was the guy. He had 3 wins before the PGA Tour leaves Hawaii. It was a tough summer, though, for him to rebound and get to this point.
It was after Erin Hills because he didn't back that up the way he wanted to on Sunday. As he said, didn't have his best stuff. And then he went in a little bit of a mini slump, missed 3 straight cuts, shot 80 in the Open Championship to miss the cut over there. Was there with a hoodie watching Jordan win a major championship. All his buddies are winning majors. Not that he's jealous of it, but he wants to be a part of that too. And then ultimately he flips this whole thing around. He's got the major now. He's a favorite for Player of the Year. And let's see what he does in the playoffs as he goes forward.
And you think with his resume right now, 4 wins in a major, only big things still to come for Justin Thomas. A guy who would love to join Justin and be a part of that major club was one of the first guys to congratulate him on Sunday. It's Ricky Fowler, who's had all these close calls in majors, seen his buddies win majors. He's a total class act, and his congratulatory, he's always there on Sunday to say congrats to his buddies. But how close do you think he's getting to that point, and how hungry is he to get that first major?
Well, you look at it a couple different ways. One is that another major season has slipped by for Ricky, and he hasn't posted a major championship win, as you said, with all his buddies there. At what point, though, is he going to be the guy coming off that green with a W and having all his buddies wait for him? And remember at the end of last year, Butch Harmon, his instructor, didn't like the commitment he put into it, told him he had to get in better shape this year. Last year he misses 2 cuts, nothing better in the top 30. And ultimately, while he doesn't get the W, he was close this year. He had a good run in the major championships. Remember, the Masters, he had a shot at Erin Hills. Yeah. Didn't really have a shot at the British Open. And this one was important because, remember, he had to come back from a triple. He had to come back from 4 over the last three holes on Saturday. And he went out and he did make something happen. He was in potential, in a position to potentially make a run, didn't do it, but it showed a lot. And as he said, a big step for me this year. At least I made the cut in all 4 majors. Let's see how he does going forward. Plenty of golf left for him, but he does go into it 0 for 32 in majors at this point.
From a mental standpoint, what do you think Sunday does for him to close with a final round like that?
I think it's big, maybe a little bit too late. Butch Harmon was trying to get him to play more like Ricky Fowler. In other words, put the big boy shoes on and go out and win. He didn't exactly do that, but he did put on a strong performance in closing. And again, a great sportsman. You got to admire the way this guy is always there for his buddies. And at some point, he's going to have the same type of reception that he's given Jimmy Walker, and then, of course, his good buddy Justin yesterday.
Well, we've got another dynamic duo joining us on Golf Central.
Yes,
Let's kick it over to Matt Adams and Tripp Eisenhower.
George, thank you very much. To the conversation about the friends standing by and watching, want to talk to Tripp about the idea of the top players in the world all being good friends. Where do you stand on that?
Look, I think it's good. I think it's good for the game. And, people say, well, I wanted to see like Tiger and Phil, how they didn't like each other. I don't think most people were tuning in to watch Tiger and Phil because they didn't get along. I think people don't mind these players being good friends. I can guarantee you this, from a competitive standpoint, though, Ricky Fowler wants to beat Justin Thomas. Jordan Spieth wants to beat Justin Thomas. And Justin Thomas wants to beat them. But off the golf course, you can be friends. There's nothing wrong with this. And I think it's actually good for the game, and I think it's great for these top young players to give a little more time to the media. I mean, Rory McIlroy talks to Todd Lewis before he goes on to warm up on the PGA. We didn't see that from Tiger and Phil a lot. This is good. The game is in good hands, and these young players, they're going to be holding it for a long time. And I'm really confident that I'm actually very glad that they are good friends.
Here's a shocking revelation. The history of the game actually extends before Tiger and Phil, and historically there's a precedent too of players that got along. If you look back, say Walter Hagen, Bobby Jones, Gene Sarazen, they were fierce rivals, but they were also very good friends. Look at Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus. Yes, they had a fierce rivalry as well, but through the big three and everything that they did, they still consistently said that they were very good friends. Look at Nicklaus and Tom Watson. We know that they were buddies. Look at the embrace from Nick Faldo to Greg Norman in 1996. So there's a precedence there that you can be a competitor to another, and you also can be a friend. When it's all said and done, what do you think this friendship might mean, though, for American teams?
This is huge, and I think big part of the Ryder Cup losing Americans as much as they did in the 90s and 2000s, much more in the 2000s when you had clearly the best players in the game on the American team time and time again, was some of the camaraderie issues in the locker room. I know they tried to come together for the team event. It was very important to those players, but it's tough to just put it together with a Band-Aid that 1 week. So I think going forward, Matt, in team events and this chemistry of these young players, because they're going to be a core, they're going to be stalwarts on these teams for a long, long time. And I think being good friends is going to help and gel a lot of these pairings over the years. It's going to make the captains' jobs a lot easier.
Well, talking about the captains' jobs, let's take a look at what the standings are right now for the United States President's Cup standings. There you can see, and you can see inside of the top 10 now, is Patrick Reed. This is
Yep.
a pretty strong automatic qualifiers if it ended here today.
On paper it is. And now, let's speak a little bit about, you've got Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Daniel Berger, Ricky Fowler, Brooks Koepka. You've got so many different pairings. Brooks Koepka and Dustin Johnson together. I mean, Steve Stricker's in a wonderful spot, and I know Jim Furyk's paying attention as well for the Ryder Cup. This is great, and I think the golf, like I said, these young guys, they're pretty capable of carrying the game for a while.
All right, let's send you over to a couple of other stars that get along very well, George and Karen.
All right, thank you, Matt. From the President's Cup standings to the Solheim Cup, it was just 2 years ago as a comeback for the ages. The Americans were down 10-6 going into singles play, and they shocked the Europeans in Germany, winning 14.5 to 13.5, the largest comeback victory that we've seen in the Solheim Cup. So here's the roster for Team USA captain Julie Inkster as we look at the 12 players who are going to be in Iowa trying to defend that Solheim Cup. So for more on the roster, let's now welcome in Golf Channel analyst Karen Stupples. And Karen, I know the Americans still relishing that victory, but it's a completely new ball game this week in Iowa.
It is, and it's a whole different set of challenges for the captain. She's got some new players on her team, but I really think she's going to rely on the old guard, per se, to really kind of put the gel in that team together. And as we look through, there are some that have better records than others. Christy Kerr, Paula Creamer, Michelle Wie, Lexi Thompson, Jarena Pillett, all names we're all very familiar with. And I think Captain Julie Inkster will put them together in ways that we're familiar with. Christy Kerr and Lexi Thompson will definitely play together. Paula Creamer, I think, was the addition on here that people were a little surprised at maybe because of her form. But in terms of the team aspect, I really think like she adds a lot to the formula with regards to the new players coming on the team. Maybe play her with Austin Ernst, a rookie in the foursomes. Their games are very comparable. And another exciting pairing might be Paula Creamer and Angel Yin in a four-ball match, because the pair of them can be very explosive. Paula can be steady, Angel Yin can make a lot of birdies. So she's going to be really important to that team. Julie knew what she was adding to the table. She knows what she brings in terms of what happens in the team room afterwards. And she feels like she can really trust her, because she feels like Paula Creamer is just a younger version of herself.
All right, we just heard about the Americans. Later in the show, we're going to have more on Team Europe with you, Karen. All right, stick with us. We still have a lot to get to in the show tonight. We're breaking down that European team for this week's Solheim Cup. Who's an under-the-radar player who could come up big this week? And it's the last stop for guys on the PGA Tour to secure their card for another season. To look at some of the names on that all-important top 125 bubble. Who needs a big week at the Wyndham? Plus, what gave Quail Hollow the edge to test the game's best at last week's PGA Championship? Tripp is going to tell us why this is a major shut-up that should be replicated going forward.
Golf Central is brought to you by Titleist, the #1 ball at the PGA Championship. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.